Welcome back to Packet Loss. In this episode, I'm going to be covering the use cases of packet captures and how to effectively use them on your firewall. A prerequisite of using this feature is having a packet analyzer tool, so what I've done is linked Wireshark down below, which is completely free. I'll be building off my previous episodes in the series, so with that, let's get started. Palo Alto firewalls come preloaded with a packet capture interface that you can use to capture and analyze traffic that traverses your network. If you're using this tool, you're more than likely wanting a much more granular analysis on the network traffic you're troubleshooting. Keep in mind that this process is heavily CPU intensive. Only use it as needed and make sure to turn it off when you're done. To use this feature, start by going to your Monitor tab, and on the left-hand side, you'll see the packet capture option. Keep in mind, if your firewall is running in a multi-virtual system mode or multi-vsys mode, you need to have all virtual systems selected before you'll see this feature pop up, because it does not run independently on each virtual system. Before you turn on your capture, you'll need to define the parameters of the traffic flow you are trying to capture. To do this, click on Manage Filters. From here, you'll be adding rows under the ID column. So in my case, if I'm going to add 2 rows, what this is going to allow me to do is set a source and destination IP on the first row and a source and destination of the same flow but reversed on the second row. Also to note, if you do not know the IP that you are either egressing or ingressing to or from, you can use quad zeros in that place. So for instance, if I'm going to say I don't know what's talking to my workstation currently, I can put quad zeros in there and put it on the reverse flow on the bottom. And then on the top, my destination is going to be my home workstation. I can just copy that, throw it in there. And now I've defined my filters. Also to note, down below the select packet capture filter option, this is going to independently allow you to set all of these parameters as you need. Just like I did, this is a newer feature that you can use, but I choose not to. But it is a completely optional thing you can use. And once I've set my filters, I can click OK. Once you've defined your filters above, you'll need to create the PCAP stages for the traffic flowing through your capture. For what I'm referencing, down below you'll see stage, and down below that, you'll see the add icon. Click on that, and we can click the drop down from here, and you'll see 4 stages. As the names would imply, the drop stage is if firewall is getting actively dropped against any flow that's coming through. Firewall stage, this is where content inspection, app ID inspection, all of those good things are happening. This is essentially that day in the life of a packet process. As the packet comes in, what is it actually doing within the firewall itself, right? The receive is the moment traffic ingresses into your firewall, that's where it's happening. The transmit stage is once traffic has processed through not only the receive stage, but the firewall stage, and drop, if applicable, it egresses, right? So that's the transmit stage. So we're going to need to create all 4 of these stages. And I would keep in mind, keep an easy-going name for any of these captures you're running with these stages, just because it's easier to track that way. So in my case, I'm going to do FW for my firewall stage. For my receive stage, I'll do RX. For my drop stage, just going to be called drop, right? Real easy. And then my transmit stage, I'll put TX. And that defines all of my stages. One little pro tip you can use as well, if you don't want to have different file names on all 4 of these stages, if you use the same file name for every single stage, you will only get 1 captured file on the right-hand side when you do start turning on your packet capture for the first time. Now that we've defined not only our filters, but our stages, we're actually ready to turn on our actual packet capture itself, right? To do this, the first step you're going to always do is click on filtering, the button right next to it, which is currently off. Click on that and you'll show filtering is turned on. If you were to turn on the packet capture stage itself without turning on filtering, you would be capturing all traffic going through your data plane. So you always want to make sure the filtering button is turned on before you turn on your capture, and vice versa. When you turn off your capture, you would be turning the capture off, then turn filtering off, right? On the right side, you'll see pre-parse match. You're usually not going to be running this actual feature, only because this is going to match against traffic right before it even hits the data plane, right? We're talking about the services running on the data plane as traffic ingresses into your firewall, usually used in any kind of debugging instance. So for most like 9 times out of 10 times that you're going to be using this feature, you're going to be just turning on filtering and then turning on your capture itself. So we're going to do that. All right, it's going to give you a little warning, basically telling you, hey, this is for troubleshooting only. And once it's done, please disable this feature. And we're going to click OK. On the right-hand side, click the refresh icon, and you'll notice all 3 of our stages are now showing. We're not dropping anything, which is a good sign. And we're going to actually turn off this capture now that we've captured some data. And we're going to start to look at these logs. As I said earlier, to export any of these logs, you're going to need Wireshark, right? And as a reminder, I linked it down below in this video description. So with that, the file name itself, right? Anytime you click on one of these icons for the file names that you've generated from your stages, it's going to automatically export a Wireshark.pcap file. So if I click on firewall right here, if I click on that, it's going to open up in Wireshark. Right? Pretty basic general information. Let me close out of here. Same thing can be said for the remainder of these files. And like I said before, if you don't want to capture any of these stages individually, what you can do is either combine all 4 of these stages or a few of these stages as you'd like by using the same exact file name on the left-hand side. So now that we've ran a PCAP in the GUI, I want to walk you through how you would do that in the CLI. We'll be running these commands that I'll be about to paste in operational mode from the CLI. I'll leave the syntax in the video description for anyone possibly needing it. Keep in mind, when running these commands, it will override any parameters you set in the GUI PCAP feature. The first command we're going to be running is to turn our filter on. So debug dataplane packet-diag set filter on. You'll notice a prompt comes up showing us our filter is now on. The next is going to be to define a filter. So this is going to be a basic filter from my source, which is my workstation, over destination port 443. You can play around with the match criteria of the filter all you want. And then once we've set the actual filter and the parameters of that filter, we need to set the file PCAPs, right, for all the stages. And like I said before, if you want to use the same file name for every single stage of your PCAP, you'll only get one PCAP to export. So I'm going to click OK. And when we want to turn this capture on, now that we have filtering on, we've defined our filter, and we've defined our stages of our packet capture, we can actually run the command debug dataplane packet-diag set capture on. And our packet capture is enabled. The following command, the debug dataplane packet-diag show setting, is going to show me the settings of my actual filter itself, as far as if the capture is on as well, and if any packets are being received and sent, and so on. Right. And I'm going to up arrow back to my capture command. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to do the same thing for my filter. That turns off my filter. And for the purposes of today's training video, I'm going to be exporting these logs again from the GUI, because essentially everything you do in the CLI is a mirrored image onto the GUI, right? It's the same device. However, if you want to SFTP or SCP these logs out of your CLI interface onto a server, anything like that, I'm not going to be showing that. However, I will paste in the syntax you'll be using for that in the description of this video as well. So if I go back to my GUI, you'll notice if I refresh this page, all of my parameters are here, my filter is now off, and if I want to export my logs, it's as simple as clicking on one of these files, and here's my PCAP file as well. In conclusion, I hope this video helped you learn how to set up packet captures in the GUI and the CLI of your firewalls. As I mentioned prior in the video description, I've attached some useful KVS articles as well as some PCAP CLI syntax for anyone needing it. Thank you again for watching, and if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment below.